Hi, I'm Pete Curé, and I'm glad you could join us for today's Step Outside. You know, on this show we talk a lot about creating destinations, places in your yard that draw you outdoors, like a quiet patio or a secret garden. One of the most dramatic destinations you can add to your landscaping is a swimming pool. It's the kind of addition that can really change your life, providing a new area for exercise, entertainment, and relaxation. Over the next few shows, we're going to be building a play pool in the backyard of this home. Now don't let the word play fool you, because this pool has all the bells and whistles. A therapy jet spa, a water feature with fog effects, and solar heating, to name just a few. We'll be starting off with a clean slate, a typical grass and gravel backyard. We'll look at the general layout of the project and then show you the step-by-step process that goes into creating a swimming pool that family and friends can enjoy for years to come. We'll also take a look at the construction that's going on around the pool, a fireplace, a barbecue, a bar, and a custom flagstone decking. So stay where you are. When we come back, we'll start laying out our pool. How many of you have a backyard just like this? Pretty typical size, single family lot. Barely 30 feet wide by 50 foot long. It's pretty hard to figure out what you want to do back here, but we're going to put a pool in this one. Now obviously, to fit a pool in this backyard, most of this vegetation is going to have to go. In fact, the only thing we're going to leave is the citrus tree right here. All the lawn comes out, and we're going to take this existing patio cover down and add a new one all the way across the back of the house to give it a little bit more shade. The pool will go approximately where this lawn is right now, and in one corner we're going to add a water feature. In the back corner over here, we're going to have a spa, a fireplace, and a barbecue. We've got a lot of work cut out for ourselves here, so we better get to it. To dig the pool, we're using a small bobcat. Small because there really isn't a lot of access to the yard. We had to take down the existing block walls by the sides of the house just to get our equipment in. The side yards will pretty much be the main roads for our workers during this project. It'll be a little bit disruptive to the homeowners and their neighbors, but there's really no way around it. Yard access is something that always needs to be considered during the planning portion of a pool installation. Now before we get too far along, let's talk a little bit about choosing the type of pool that will best fit your lifestyle and your yard. For most people, the first consideration is price. How much pool can you afford? But keep in mind that most pool companies base their cost on a minimum size of 450 square feet or so, and they go up from there. You not only have to budget for the pool, but also for decking, landscaping, and any other options you think you might want. Second, how will you be using the pool? Is it for exercise, entertainment, or will it primarily be used by the kids? All these factors will affect not only the size, but also the shape. Another thing to consider is the actual style of the pool itself. I tend to think that the style of the house should dictate somewhat to the style of the pool. In other words, you wouldn't necessarily want a Grecian-shaped pool with a Santa Fe-styled house. If your house tended to be more modern in architectural style, you may want a pool that's rectilinear or even a lap pool. And then of course, natural-shaped pools, something that's going to look like a pond or a stream, can probably go with any style of architecture and tend to give your yard a little bit more of a garden-y feel. There are also some pretty trick details that you can add to a pool that will affect the style. A raised spa that spills into it, a water feature, or a disappearing edge, especially if you've got a view lot with a lot of elevation change to it. You will also have to choose a maintenance system. How will you keep the pool clean, and how much time, effort, and money will it take? There are basically two types of cleaning systems for a pool. One where there's a pipe that comes into the wall of the pool. There's a hose that attaches to the pipe, and on the end of the hose, there's some type of a cleaner, whether it's a vacuum cleaner or a jandy or something that goes around the pool. The other type is an in-floor system, where there are a series of heads that pop up on the bottom of the pool and push the water around. Obviously, the in-floor system is much more money than the other system. Those are just a few of the considerations you have when purchasing a swimming pool. Planning is everything when buying a pool. Do as much research as you can before signing a contract. You definitely need to know what you're doing. It's a huge commitment. I'm down here in the bottom of the pool we've been digging with Mike Matzdorf from DLM Excavation. Hi, how you doing, Mike?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Good. Now, Mike, you dug most of this with a bobcat.
Correct.
And you left a ramp over there for the bobcat to get in and out, but what are you going to do with that ramp?
Well, we're going to sandbag that and then reform the wall so the wall's there.
So you can finish it off. But you also have to do a lot of hand shaping with the shovels, don't you?
Yes.
What's the purpose of that?
Well, so we can have the bench and the correct depth there.
For the spa and
Right.
the steps and all that kind of stuff. Now I know that when we laid this pool out, we laid it out 6 inches wider than what you've dug. And of course that's for the thickness of the wall itself.
Right.
But what is this form board for?
Form boards for shotcrete goes to the top and the rebar so everybody can measure off that.
Okay. What about these holes though that you've left in the wall over here?
Well, that one there is a niche for the light and then that's a niche for the skimmer.
Now, this was pretty easy digging, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Decomposed granite all the way down.
Yep.
But you did come into something strange down here, didn't you?
Yeah, it looks like they brought dirt in before they built these homes and it looks like...
There was an old dump pit here. I mean, this is
Yes.
part of an old hubcap, and you took several of these out of here.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get into when you start digging. In fact, we didn't have any hard dig here at all. A lot of people could run into that when they dig swimming pools. On a pool this size, if they ran into rock or caliche, what would that add to the cost of a job?
It could be a couple $1,000.
A couple thousand more just to dig a small pool like this, hard
Right,
excavation.
depending on how many feet down.
Now, what is this string line for?
String line is so we have the correct depths on the pool.
So you use that to measure every once in a while to make sure that you're deep enough.
Correct.
Now this pool is supposed to be a play pool. That means we want it 3.5 foot, 5 foot, and 3.5 foot so they can play
Yes.
volleyball in here. Let's see where we're at right now. Okay, you're at about 5'3". We want to finish at 5, but we've got a 9-inch thickness for the floor. So you got about 6 more inches to go down?
Correct.
All right, well you got a little bit of work left here. We'll let you get to it. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you.
The excavators finished all the digging in the pool early this morning, and right after that, the plumbers immediately came into the job and started laying out the pipe. This is Bob Klein of Klein's Pool Plumbing. They're installing our plumbing in our pool here. Bob does a lot of pools here in the valley. Bob, why don't you explain a little bit about how a typical pool plumbing system works?
A typical system has a skimmer, a main drain, a cleaner line for suction, which draws the water to the filter, and then surface returns. After it's been filtered, it returns back to the pool.
But this is not a typical pool, is it?
Well, this is, no, it's a little more involved. It's got the Caretaker 99 in-floor system with the pop-up heads. It's engineered by Caretaker, and it's got a spa also.
And so these heads work just like a sprinkler system in lawn does. They pop up and they push some water around and pushes the debris into the main drain down here. This is the leaf trapper?
Yeah, this is the leaf trapper here. This is another one of Caretaker's things. But it's a leaf trapper which catches the larger debris, leaves, and so forth, and puts it in that deck can over there.
And then in there there's like a bag that catches all that, and the maintenance man can take that out and clean the pool.
Right.
So this pool doesn't have anything floating around in it like a lot of pools do in terms of a pool cleaner.
Correct.
Okay. Well, let's go take a look at the spa.
Okay. All right, this is the spa here. They're started the therapy plumbing right now. This is the water line for the therapy jet. Here's the actual therapy jet itself, and this is the air line coming down that will be attached to another 2-inch pipe that'll have a blower in it where you'll get the air and water mixture and get that therapy effect.
So all of these pipes stubbed out here are the actual jets or jet locations, and you've measured down from the top of this form board about 12 inches, so they'll end up being 9 inches below water level.
Right.
So if they wanted to have one, say, lower coming into the bottom part of the back or a little higher, we could move these almost any place we need.
Yeah, they can be adjusted any depth or height that you want.
And then this little gizmo here is the actual therapy jet. It's got a little orifice in there that's removable in case there's some debris that gets caught in there.
Correct. Yeah, that's what actually makes the therapy effect here. The water gets shot through this smaller orifice here and draws air through the top, and the air-water mixture comes
That's called a Venturi action.
That's a Venturi action.
Okay.
Correct.
Well, it looks like you still got a little bit of work left to do. We'll let you guys get to it.
All right, thanks.
Next up, our pool will really start to take shape. We'll be putting in the rebar frame. Step outside, we'll return in a moment. Don't go away. The structural integrity of a pool is a combination of concrete and the rebar within it. The rebar is formed in shape to resemble a big grid system. As you can see, it's a fairly involved process. On a pool this size, It takes a full day to complete. Well, the steel crew has finally finished their work here in our pool, and they've got all of the rebar in place. Let's take a closer look at exactly what steel goes into a swimming pool. Right here, we have the top of the bond beam. If you remember our form board from before, that establishes the top, but the actual structural portion is these three rebars, number 3 bar, that are continuous throughout the top of the bond beam. That's the structural top of the swimming pool itself. Now the rest of the steel is primarily placed throughout the pool, 12 inches on center, as you can see all the way through here. One real important step that they have to do, though, is they have to take some concrete block pieces and block the steel up from the dirt itself, so that when we gunite the pool, the concrete gunite will go all the way down to the ground and that same distance above the steel, so that the steel itself ends up in the middle of the concrete. If you remember our conversation with the plumber earlier, one of the last things that they had to install was the skimmer, and this is it here. As you can see, it's tied to the top of the bond beam of the pool, so it remains in place. The water level of the pool itself actually ends up right in the middle of this skimmer, and this is where the water flows into. It's part of the cleaning surface action of the pool. Now, back over here, this funny looking little pot doesn't go on your stove. It's actually the light niche that the electricians installed, and the pool light will go in here. It's covered with tape so that it doesn't get filled with gunite when we gunite the pool. Coming out of the back of that is a brass pipe, and they call it the brass, and it runs over on an area on the wall over there where the light cord will end up going into, so they can tie to it electrically. And then this little copper wire here, you can see it's clamped to the pool steel in several places. That's called the bond wire, and that helps to prevent electrical shocks from occurring in the pool itself. Besides the work going on in the pool, there's been some activity going on around it too. There are several trenches making their way from the pool, carrying different types of lines and piping. Because the spa needs to be heated, but this house doesn't have natural gas, we've installed a propane gas line, which is this yellow pipe you see in the trench here. And in fact, the gas guys have left us a stub out right here, because this is the area where both the fireplace and the barbecue are to be built. In addition to that, the electricians have left us kind of a flexible whip with a box. This is where an outlet will be put in. When we build the masonry, we'll put it right into the face of the barbecue itself. All of the work that's been done thus far by the plumbers, the electricians, and the gas guys comes around the corner of the house and ends right here, because this is where the equipment for the pool is going to be placed. You can see all these electrical lines stubbed up here, and in fact this one goes out and back over to the main service panel to provide power for us here. And all of these plumbing lines come and they end in this huge plumbing tree. And each one of these individual pipes is labeled by the plumber so that he knows what he's got when he comes back to install the equipment later. There's a lot of plumbing in this tiny little pool, but that's because we have the spa and the pool and the swim jets and all those things. One important thing that the plumber has to do is tie all of these together so that we can put them all under pressure. And the key thing to keep your eye on is this little gauge right down here. As you can see, it's registering 40 pounds right now. This lets us know that we don't have any leaks in any of our work thus far, and that's a real important step as we're getting ready to gunite the pool. Well, I think we've finally got all our work done, and we should be ready to shotcrete the pool. But there's one other person's opinion that counts more than mine in this matter, and that's the city inspector. Let's check our permit card to see if he's given us his stamp of approval. Yep, he's been here, and he says we can go ahead and schedule the shotcrete. So when we come back, we'll show you how it's done. Dave McLean and his crew from A&S Shotcrete have been contracted to do the concrete work on our pool. During a pool installation, you might hear the terms shotcrete and gunite. They're almost interchangeable. Basically, they're both a concrete mix, but there is a difference. Gunite is dry. The dry mix runs through a hose and water is added at the nozzle, so it's actually mixed at the nozzle. Shotcrete is mixed at the truck and then is shot through the hose wet, using air. A truck this size holds about 10.5 yards of shotcrete, and this pool will take about 2 truckloads. That's 21 yards. To prepare the site, the crew puts up a plastic tarp above the pool's perimeter. This is to keep the shotcrete from overspraying onto the house or anything else in the near vicinity. Looking at the application of this stuff is like watching someone put out a fire. A hydraulic concrete pump back at the truck pushes the concrete through this big black hose all the way around the house. There's also a big air compressor that runs air pressure to the nozzle to help blow and compact the shotcrete. The application process takes a couple of hours for a pool this size. The shaping and smoothing of the shotcrete takes place almost immediately after it's sprayed. As you can see, there are quite a few people involved in this process, and everyone pitches in. Time is definitely not on your side at this point, because you need to get this stuff shaped before it dries. Well, we've already placed the boulders over at the spa, and now we're ready to get the water feature boulders in place. In fact, we've just brought these two in. Because the access on this job is very difficult, all the boulders are being brought in by hand on a large two-wheeled cart. What you have to understand, these boulders are very heavy. A boulder weighs about 110 pounds per cubic foot. That's 12 inches by 12 inches by 12 inches. So this one here weighs over 700 pounds. It's really hard work. As we continue to bring in a few more boulders for the water feature, there's work going on in another part of the yard. It looks as though the bar area is really beginning to take shape. Let's go see how it's coming along. This is Bill Mitchell with R&B Masonry, and they're the company who's doing the masonry for our job here. How you doing, Bill?
How's it going, Pete?
Good. What do you got going here?
Well, Pete, what we have here is we've got a red brick firebox using Phoenix Brickyard's 2-inch red pavers. And they want a kind of old look here. So what we're doing is we're striking the joints out, raking them deep here to give it that old look. And then on the outside, we're going to have a casting that goes around the front of this.
Concrete.
Yes, out of concrete. That'll cross over here in front. And it'll have a nice classic look to it.
And then the chimney just continues on up here?
Yeah, it'll continue up in a little bit above the wall here. And that's how that'll go in.
Well, what's this in over here?
Now this here is the barbecue. Okay, we got the unit's going to slide into here, and then it's radiused out here at the end. Then there'll be a bar top on top that rolls out 4 feet, 2 foot on, as a radius coming around.
And that's going to be a little higher than the grill
it'll
itself.
step up a little bit higher.
It's kind of a stand-up bar then, huh?
Kind of a stand-up bar, yeah.
Now, in the front of the fireplace, we need to have a hearth here yet, don't we?
Right, and this hearth is going to come out here like this, turn the corner, so we have plenty of room here, and it'll come up to this height.
And then tie into the seat wall that you've done here?
Tie into the seat wall, just like turn around and then like that, turn the corner.
Okay, well, you see we've already installed our boulders on the spa bond beam, and unfortunately boulders never come made to order in size. So what you've got is what you've got to work with. How are you going to tie this seat wall into these boulders here?
Well, Pete, we're going to take some 8-inch block here and bring it up to the height, and then with these little 4-inch brick, we'll be able to make a nice tight radius. The reason we use the brick is because we can do a nice tight radius turn and you don't see any joints when you stucco it.
Show us how it's done.
So what we do, come in here, put a little bit of mud in here like this, get our block in here like this. Then what we've got to do is we've got to get this corner fed in here. So we're going to, like this. Okay, now we're already up to our height here now. Now to get this around here, we're going to go ahead and put a 4 on top of here. Get our 4-inch block here like that. Okay, now we can start bringing our radius in here.
So you'll just continue all the way around with those small little bricks.
That's right. We'll just come right around just like this to make a nice smooth radius.
Well, that looks like that'll work great. We'll let you keep at it. Stay tuned. We'll have more of our backyard pool project when we return. Well, we've made some pretty big inroads on our pool construction. The excavating, rebar work, and shotcrete are finished, and we have a really good start on the plumbing and masonry. But once your pool is complete, there'll be an ongoing concern about keeping it clean. Chlorine systems have been the traditional way to sanitize pool water, but there are a number of new treatment systems available on the market today. These include ionic, ozone, and saline systems. Some of them work alone, while others work in tandem. Our construction superintendent, Brad Bergmark, recently put a pool in his house, so we took a trip to see what system he installed. Well, you got a lot of equipment back here, Brad, but this is something I haven't seen before. What's this?
This is called an ultra-pure oxidizer, and what it is a chemical reduction system. It doesn't produce chlorine, but it produces ozone, which kills bacteria. So
The ozone is a gas, it goes through this clear tube then.
that's right, and it's sucked in through the filtration system, and it reduces the amount of chlorine needed about 65%. So that in turn gets rid of the green hair, the red eyes, and you don't really smell the chlorine in the pool because you're not using a lot of it.
Well, that's a neat idea. Picking a good water purification system is not only important to the life of your pool, it's essential to the people who swim in it. So again, you can't do too much planning or research. Well, we're just about out of time for today, but be sure to join us again next time. We'll be back at the pool, putting in a solar heating and misting system, installing custom flagstone decking, and finishing construction on our bar and barbecue area. Each week, we show you some of the endless possibilities that await you, just beyond your door. So come on, step outside and enjoy the view. I'm Pete Curé. See you next time.